Welcome to the Travel and Beyond podcast with me, Daisy Ayres. Come with me on this incredible journey as I share my experience of immigrating from the UK to Australia and everything life throws at me in between. Join me for candid conversations, unfiltered advice, and moments of laughter as we shine a light on the highs and lows of this adventure. Hello, and welcome back to the Travel and Beyond podcast with me, Daisy Ayres. So this episode, in case you haven't seen my social pages, will be the last episode of series 1. I always intended to do this podcast in series, and it feels like a good time to now be taking a pause because, in all honesty, most things at the moment are kind of on hold. We're in this waiting period where there isn't much going on until things progress a little bit more with the visa process and selling our house. So what I really want to do is I'm going to take a little bit of a pause just for a few weeks and wait until we have a little bit more movement so I can come back on and give you guys some more useful updates. I don't just want to keep turning up each week and rambling on and just have you listening to me talk about things that aren't really that helpful. This is just going to be a little bit of a break until things move along a bit more. I just want to say thank you so much to everyone that has been listening and that has supported, that's reached out and messaged me. I've had so many people. I'm really actually taken back by the amount of people that have messaged me and said how helpful they found the podcast or how much they've enjoyed listening. It really does mean a lot that people are even listening to this, and I will definitely be back. And I'm going to come back bigger and better. If you don't already, make sure you follow my social pages. They are linked in the description because I will still keep updates on my social pages. For today's episode, I'm actually going to be doing a Q&A. So I put a poll up on my Instagram, seeing what people want to know, if there's anything that I haven't covered yet, or just a bit more of an update on where we're at. And I'm going to be answering the questions that people submitted. So working through them, first question is, how long does the process take? And this is a little bit of how long is a piece of string. In all honesty, for most people in the groups that we're in on Facebook, it seems to take anywhere between 18 to 24 months for this full process end to end. It really does depend on what your skill is and what visa you're going on. So there isn't a magic number. If you're in something like nursing or teaching, they seem to be going through super, super fast because they're in such high demand. Other people have been waiting longer. So in all honesty, I think it is a little bit of a luck of a draw. For us, in terms of our timeline, I have spoke about this in a previous episode, but roughly off the top of my head, it took us around 5 months in total to get the skills assessment and English test part complete. A lot of that was actually waiting times for the assessing body to come back to us and sign Aaron's skills assessment off. So skills assessment and English test, 5 months. We then put our expression of interest in, and we were waiting about 5 months from expression of interest to then getting an invitation. So that was 10 months. And then we formally lodged our visa at around the 11-month mark. And now we have done all of our paperwork. So we've done our police checks. We've had our health examinations done and passed, and we're now sitting and waiting. It does say on the government website that on average, 190 visas are taking 11 months to be processed. That is based on an average. Loads of people, again, in the Facebook groups are saying, ignore that. There's no way that they're accurate. So yeah, how long is a piece of string, I guess? Next question, how much does it cost? So I did do a video of this on my social media. So again, if you're not following me, go back and follow me because I've got all the information on there. Just looking at my notes, in total, I think it's cost us around £7,000 for our visas. And that's including the skills assessment, the health checks, the police checks. That's not including anything we've spent on Pepper. So around £7,000, and that is for 2 adults going. Obviously, if you are going over with children or dependents, then the cost will be higher as you pay for each person going on the visa. Do you have to have a job lined up? And I actually get asked this question quite a lot when I tell people in person. You don't. So the visa that we are going on is a 190 state nominated, but it isn't dependent on an employer. So we can go over there and be jobless if we wanted for 6 months, if we had the finances to support us, we can go over there and find work straight away, and we can move around jobs as much as we want. Someone else did also ask, what will you do for work over there? Good question. Aaron obviously will go over there and find a carpentry job. There are so many carpentry jobs. We're in a group, I think it's Carpenters in Queensland. Every day people posting saying they need carpenters. If you go on Seek or Indeed, they're the main job search sites. So many jobs on there for carpenters as well. So it'll be super easy, I think, for Aaron to get a job. Personally, myself, I don't want to work in a corporate job when I get over there. I want something that allows me to have a bit more of a work-life balance than what I currently have in the UK. So I am a marketer. So I think what I'm going to do is try and do some freelance marketing work where I have my own clients. And I also am just thinking about getting a job in hospitality, in all honesty, because their hospitality jobs pay pretty good. I've been looking online and it seems to be between $30 to $40 an hour. And I just think it's easy. I just think I can go in, do my shift, leave, not have to think about work. It's also quite social. I do enjoy hospitality work. So I'm kind of thinking a combination of freelance work and hospitality in like a little coffee shop or cafe is what I'm thinking about at the moment. That might change obviously once I'm there and I'm a bit more settled. But yeah, to start off with, I just want something laid back, to be honest. Next, I have, do you have to have a certain amount of money? No. Well, for the Queensland visa, we did need to show proof of funds. So we had to show we had 10,000 English pounds in our bank account in order to apply for the Queensland visa. They do let you know that when you put your expression of interest in. As far as I'm aware, Queensland are the only state that do that. So for most people, they wouldn't have to show how much funds they've got. We did for Queensland, but I think once we get the visa approval, we don't need to show anything when we enter the country. So in short, no, you don't have to have a certain amount of money saved or in the bank. Will you have somewhere to live when you go over there? We are hoping to get an apartment secured before we arrive, so we will be using a relocation agent. We will use the Down Under Centre relocation agent for the Gold Coast. And a relocation agent is basically someone that works with you to help you find somewhere that you want to move to. So we'll go on a call with them. We'll let them know, the areas that we're interested in, what our requirements are, what we like, what we don't like. And then they will go and view the properties for us and they will help us with the application. So our plan is to engage with a relocation agent before we go and try and have somewhere that we can move straight into when we arrive. If not, what we'll have to do is either get in a hotel or stay in an Airbnb until we find somewhere. I have heard that the rental market is nuts at the moment in Australia. So we are going to have to be a little bit flexible in terms of our expectations, I think. When are you going? Good question. No definite answer yet. It's so hard to plan. Everything in this journey is hard to plan because there are no set timelines. So we could get our visa granted tomorrow. We could be waiting until December. We are hoping to go in July or August of this year. So we can from July, because the UK and Australia are changing the visa requirements for working holiday visas. From July, we would be eligible to apply for another 1 year's working holiday visa. What we will plan on doing is, if our visa grant hasn't come in by that point, we will go over on a 1 year working holiday visa and wait until our permanent visa is approved. So basically what will happen is, as soon as our permanent visa gets approved, that would basically cancel out the working holiday visa and we would transition over to being permanent residents. So that's our plan. If our visa hasn't been approved, we will go over on the working holiday. And we also need to wait for our house to sell. So our house is still currently on the market. We're still waiting for a buyer. We will need the house to sell before we can go, because obviously we'll need to sort out all the legalities and paperwork. This is a good question. How did you decide where you want to live? For us, it was slightly easier because we'd already lived in Australia for 2 years and we pretty much moved around most major cities and most major places that people would live in. I lived on the Gold Coast for 6 months and absolutely loved it before. It's everything you want from the Australian lifestyle. It's gorgeous beaches, it's good weather, it's chilled out, it's laid back. You've got beautiful national parks to visit. So I love the Gold Coast. Aaron didn't live there, but when I've told him what it's like, he loves the sound of it as well. We then started doing a bit of research into cost of living in different locations. And really, for us, the main two places we were either interested in was Sydney or the Gold Coast. Now, Sydney is so expensive. Sydney's like London. You're not getting a lot for your money. A lot of the properties are older. They're like small in size, especially if you want to live in either Bondi or the city, which we would. And in all honesty, Sydney rains a lot. And we want to go over there to get away from the rain. When we then looked at the cost of living on the Gold Coast, you get so much more for your money. A lot of the accommodation is much newer, so it looks a lot more modern, and you get good weather pretty much all year round. So I think that the cost of living and the weather is what swayed us the most. I do feel for people that have never been and have to choose just by doing internet research, because that must be really hard. I had someone messaging me actually on my Instagram saying they were really struggling with where to live because they've never been before. And everywhere is so different. Everywhere has different qualities. I guess it just depends what you're moving for. But for us, I want to be at the beach as much as I can. I want to be outdoors as much as I can. I want that laid back lifestyle. The city life is quite fast paced, quite busy. I'm not about that. And we're so close to Brisbane that if we do want to then go to a city where it's bustling and loads going on, we can get on the train to Brisbane and it doesn't take long at all. So Gold Coast just seemed to fit for us. How long does the visa last? So we are going on a 190 visa, which is permanent residency. So you can stay in Australia on that visa for up to 5 years, and you can come and go as much as you want without having to ask for any approval as such. After that 5 years, you can either then apply for citizenship, where you will have dual citizenship, so UK and Australian passport. You can continue to come and go as you please. If you don't go for citizenship, you still stay as a permanent resident, but if you want to leave the country to go on holiday or go home, for example, you would then need to seek approval with another visa to enter and exit again. So I think it just makes it a little bit more difficult to leave Australia if you don't go for that citizenship option. But that is after 5 years. And in all honesty, our aim is that we will go there, live there for 4 years, and then start applying for our citizenship, because that's what we want. We want to stay there permanently. Are you nervous to leave your family and everything that you know in England? No. Aaron and I have spoken about this actually, funnily enough. I'm not nervous at all. We are just so excited. We're so excited. That is the only word we've got, is excitement. Because it's the right thing for us, I don't think we feel nervous. We know it's 100% what we want to do with our lives, 100% what we need to do for our lives. Don't get me wrong, there are moments when you think this is crazy. When you actually sit down and think about it, you think this is actually crazy. We're leaving our jobs. We're selling our house. And not only that, like absolutely everything that we own, we are selling. We're leaving our families. We're leaving our friends. We are going over there and we know no one. Well, we've got a couple of friends, but we've got no one over there. That does seem nuts to some people, but I'm a very much like, if I want to do something, I'm going to go and do it. And this is something that I know I want to do. So in a nutshell, no, not nervous at all. Can you move around? This is a good question, actually. And we can, because we're permanent residents, technically speaking, you can move around as much as you want. Because we are getting a Queensland visa, we do need to stay in the Queensland state. We have signed a commitment statement that we will live in Queensland for 3 years. That's fine, because Queensland is beautiful. There are so many different places you can live. So if for whatever reason the Gold Coast isn't for us, or we live there for a year and we think now we want to try somewhere else, we can move anywhere we want as long as we stay within the state of Queensland, which is fine by me. It's a beautiful state, and yeah, we can move around. And then after that 3 years, we can obviously live anywhere we want in Australia. But in all honesty, I can't see us wanting to move from the Gold Coast, because I've lived there before and know that I love it. But who knows what the future holds, and things could have changed. I lived there about 9 years ago now, so things do move on. I've changed, the place has probably changed, so we'll see. Someone's asked, do you have to go? I think that was my sister. And I'm sorry to say this, But yes, I do have to go. I have to go and live a life where I'm living and not just existing. I really think that's something in the UK, like you just exist, you don't actually live. Final question, and again, this is a good one. Won't you miss your friends and family? This is something that actually gets asked a lot when we tell people that we're moving to Australia. And for me, it's like, of course, I'm going to miss my friends and family. Like, I've got a big family that I'm close to. I've got a really close group of friends that I see a lot as well. I do socialize with my friends a lot. But I've never been someone that gets homesick. It's really weird. Like, lived in Australia for 2 years, didn't come home once. I didn't get homesick. And I think for me, the thing of missing people is such a small factor that my happiness way outweighs the thing of missing people. And it's so easy to keep in touch with people these days. It's not like we're like, I don't know, 30 years ago where we would have had to write letters to each other that would have took ages to arrive. You've got FaceTime, you've got WhatsApp, you've got email, you've got social media. It's so easy to stay connected to people these days, even more so now than it ever has been before. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that I won't miss people, because I will, but the missing people isn't enough to stop me from going. So they were the main questions that I got asked, and they're actually very similar to the common questions that people ask me when I verbally tell them that I'm moving to Australia. As I say, I will be back for a season 2 once we have a little bit more news and things have moved along a bit more. Just want to reiterate saying thank you so much to everyone that's listened. I will be back. I will have more exciting news to share. I will be on my socials, and please do reach out if you've got any questions or anything that I can do to support you with your journey as well. Thanks for listening, and I will see you guys soon.